All right, the final visual we're going to create with this data set is going to be a county level map aggregating the ADM from across all of the schools that are located in a county. And we are fortunate that Tableau actually read in our county column as a geographic element, and we can take advantage of that right here. Anytime you have a geographic element like a county, or in this case a city, or a country, or a state, you can drag this over to the marks card and Tableau will automatically populate the generated latitude and longitude. So I'm going to do that right here. I'm going to drag over county. And you're going to notice here, once Tableau picks up, it's going to show me a map of North Carolina, and I'm going to have dots in the various places where I have counties. Another thing that I can do here is, since this is a defined geographic area, unlike the school location, it's actually got boundaries that define what separates one county from another. Instead of automatic, in our marks card here, we can change this to a map. And this is going to give us that filled in map look. Now you might be looking at this and thinking, we've got a bit of an issue here. There are certainly more counties. There are a lot of gaps in this particular map. And when we did our checking before, it looked like our data were representative of all of the districts in the state, and we shouldn't see these gaps. So we get a clue here if we look in the bottom right-hand corner where it says 50 unknown. And if I click on that here and I edit the locations, this is where I'm going to be able to go in and assign a state to each of my counties. As it turns out here, Tableau is going to read these in as ambiguous, mainly because there are other counties of the same name in other states. So there's an Alexander County in another state. It's not necessarily going to know right off the bat whether it's associated with North Carolina or with some other state. We're able to very easily do that here by changing the state/province. We now change it to be fixed, and it's going to be from North Carolina. I also want you to note that if you had a data set that had multiple states in it, you could actually have a column for that state and select the associated state from that actual field. In this case, though, since we're all from North Carolina, we're just going to keep it fixed, and I'm going to click on OK, and now you'll see all of the counties fill in. Next, we want to add some information to this map. So right now, we've successfully created a county level map of North Carolina, and we can see that here. In our particular case, since all of the counties are filled in, this is an opportunity for us to change the background as well. And one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up to Map and go to Map Layers. And I actually don't want any of the other information to be seen here. And so if I click and drag this washout all the way over to 100%, it gives me a nice clean canvas in the background where I don't have a lot of those other features, and particularly I don't really want the other states to appear in my visual, so I'm able to wash those out very easily. Now I want to be able to color code each of these county areas by the number of students who are attending school there. So just like we've done in other cases, we're going to go down to our measures. We're going to take this average student number, which represents our student enrollment, and click and drag that over to the color. Now, a couple of things to notice here. One is that Tableau is automatically going to aggregate this according to the sum. And so it's looking at the values for all of the schools that are within our data set, aggregating them up to the county level, and giving us a total number. And we can see from the automatic color scale here that we go all the way from 7,400 to 1.9 million. And if I notice here, my darker two counties are Wake and Mecklenburg. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that these numbers are a little bit high. My average student numbers should be more in the 150,000 range rather than in over a million, based on what I saw before. The idea here is that, again, Tableau is always going to aggregate up to the level until we tell it to do otherwise. And so if we don't tell it that we want to separate out by year, it's going to aggregate across all of our different years. So very easily, just like we've done before, I'm going to go over to here, take my year and place that in my filters. And here I have a number of options. If I had more detailed date information, I could go by quarters, months, days, weeks, and so on. In this case, though, I really only have information that corresponds to the year. So I'm going to go ahead and click on years here, click on next, and this is going to give me an opportunity to actually select the years that I want to view. And in this particular case, I'm going to have this be a fixed filter. I'm just going to set it to 2018, check that blocks, click OK. And now if I look over in this realm, this 171,000 for Wake County, 161,000, those are much more reasonable. These are going to be a little bit higher because if you recall, our data does have charter schools in it. So this is going to count not only the schools in the school districts associated with the county, but also any charter schools where students are attending within that county. So these numbers are going to be a little bit higher than what we saw for the school district level data that we looked at in a previous video. Now, one of the things that I want my data visualization to do is to be able to pretty succinctly convey good information. And when I look at this here, I'm really not getting a whole lot of information other than the two counties that contain the largest percentage of students. And I see that there are some others that are quite large as well. But as I get into some of the more rural counties, I really can't differentiate much between them. And this is a case where instead of conveying the raw number, we may want to actually show the rank of the counties. So actually list them, there are 100 counties in the state of North Carolina, and actually rank them from 1 to 100 in terms of the number of students who attend public school there. And I can do that actually by modifying where I have average student number here in my marks card, and I can either right click or click on that arrow and change some of the pieces here. So one is that I could change the sum, although in this case here I don't see an option for rank, so that's not going to be right there. But what I can do is add what's called a table calculation. And this can get very complex very quick, but we're going to just take a very simple approach here to be able to calculate that rank. And when I click on that, notice here that it's going to default to some various calculation types. And instead of difference from, I actually want to look at here and see rank. We can also look at things like percent of total, the percentile, other things like that. And depending on your application, these calculations can be very useful for you. But I'm going to go ahead and click on rank. And I'm going to go ahead and close out this table calculation window. Now, as you can see here, I actually see the opposite of what I expected. I notice here Wake County is number 1, but it's actually the lightest. And when I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about the density of students that are attending school there, I actually want this to be my darker version. So I'm going to easily change that by looking at my color scale over here. I still want Wake to appear as number 1 and Mecklenburg to appear as number 2. So it's very easy here that I can just go over here and edit the colors. And I'm going to keep the palette the same, although you could change that as well. But notice here it goes from light to dark. But I can check this reversed box, and now it'll go from dark to light. And when I hit OK with that, now my colors are reversed. And so now I see my most populated counties darker and my less populated counties lighter. This map doesn't convey a ton of information to us, but it does give an idea of 1, how to aggregate on a map utilizing geographic features, and 2, how to utilize a table calculation.